Hello and welcome to Super Rugby Round 2 preview brought to you by DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, a podcast, a YouTube channel, a Twitter account, and obviously a website bringing you the best in predictions and a rugby opinion. And tonight, to help me run through this full round of fixtures, no little silly little round with just two games over in the middle of the night in South Africa, but we have a full round of fixtures. So joining me to review these from Hamilton, I have the expert on New Zealand, who perhaps doesn't get off the island very often. How are you doing, Mike?
You know what? I was nearly late for the show because I've just been to the library and I couldn't find the book on any overseas rugby teams. It was really strange. So, yeah.
For those of you that don't follow on Twitter, Mike's had a bit of feedback from one of our listeners who said he loves my work, but could Mike do a little bit of research on non-New Zealand teams? But it's all good. I've got we'll cover later. I've got Mike on covering a New Zealand derby this weekend, so he'll be absolutely in his element right there. And the man who covers all sports, as you can tell by his baseball cap, the man from the Tribe Sports app. Hi, Ryan. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm surprised that Mike actually knows anything outside of Chiefs country, to be honest. So,
I know that the Auckland Aces are a joke of a cricket team.
So it's the know your enemy. I think is what he's getting into. But anyway, we've already had some bounce on the live chat. Josh goes, "What? Wait, what? There are teams out that matter outside New Zealand." Well, yes, there's one or two. And one of those will be the Bulls this weekend because obviously they are hosting the Hurricanes. But before we get on to that, we have our first New Zealand derby, which is the Highlanders versus the Blues. So, guys, sort of which players should we be looking out for? Any surprises in the lineups that have been made?
I don't think there's been too many surprises in terms of what was available. The Blues were a little bit stretched by injuries. But it's given opportunity for guys that impressed in last year's Mitre 10 Cup. So guys like Murphy Taramai and Glenn Preston are starting in the loose forwards. Bryn Gatland gets the start at first five without Perifeta or Black available. So it's going to be interesting for the Blues. They, on paper, probably look a little bit thin, but they are guys who have come off impressive performances last season. So it's going to be a big test, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and just for those of you that haven't seen the lineup, whilst the Highlanders really only have Richard Buckman or Barracuda of note injured, the Blues injury list is a Terry Black, Blake Gibson, Matt Mills, Dalton Papalai, Stephen Perifeta, Kara Pryor, Faiafani, Kano, Solomon, Tupu, and Mafiello. So with a few butchered names in there, I'm very sorry about the pronunciations. But yeah, the Blues have got a serious injury list considering it's the first weekend of the season.
Yeah, and I think like Ryan said, it's the best squad that they have really in terms of availability. I'm not a subscriber of the narrative about Perifeta. I don't think he's quite the second coming people think he is. So I would have put Gatland anyway. But I'm really interested actually to see how Gatland goes. But also, Sunnyville, because we always talk about him, don't we? But to me, he's a great all-round rugby player, but hasn't been in the last wee while as good as previous. And this is a big year for him. So really interested to see if he is really going to be the leader of that midfield.
Well, if you look at that back line, you've got Pulu, Gatland, Sunnybill, and Moala in your centres, Rico Wani on one wing, Matt Duffy on the other wing, and then Michael Collins at fullback. So, Gatland's surrounded by basically all blacks apart from Michael Collins. If Sunnybill Williams can't lead an all black back line, then he's got some serious problems.
And Matt Duffy, Matt Duffy's been incredible, especially in the tens. But man, last year he was showing signs and it was just trending up and up and up. And yeah, Collins at fullback. Yeah, probably the best available for Auckland, but he's got some serious talent too. And Rico Ioane, he was my World Player of the Year last year. He didn't quite get it, but boy, what a talent!
Absolutely, they are. And if you look at the other back line for the Highlanders, Aaron Smith, Leon Sopawanga, Walden and Thompson in the centres, Lee and Naholo on the wings, and Ben Smith at fullback. A bit surprised to see Walden in there at number 12.
No, I don't think so. I think he is another one that came off a really good Mitre 10 Cup campaign for Otago. For a team that probably underperformed a little bit last year, he was one of their standouts. And I think that's going to be a really important battle with him and Thompson up against Sonny Bill and Moala. It's probably one area on paper that the Blues have the edge. But I think that's probably well earned from Te Horangi Walden.
Well, I was expecting to see Fadders in there, but yeah, no, he's done well to get to earn that spot. So yeah, so in the backs, two lots of exciting backs, a bit of a battle in the forwards. So how do we see this one panning out, boys? What are your predictions for the game?
I think the Blues will get up by 10. Just think, the experience level in the Blues in comparison will be a big difference. The midfield as well. And to me, it's just another comment as well. Sopawanga, I mean, how is he going to go this season? We all know he's going. Is he just going to go through the motions? Does he really give a toss? It'd be interesting to see how he goes as well.
I think, maybe it's also his swan song, his last chance of getting a title. So that could be the other way of looking at it. And when you've got the full set of All Blacks, Highlanders always look good. So I'm going to go the opposite way. Even though I'm wearing a Blues jersey, I'm going for the Highlanders by 10. Brian, you're the man with the swing vote. What's it going to be?
Well, I think the Blues can get up as well, but that is a seriously biased opinion. I was surprised, though, to see that they're 6.5-point underdogs with the bookies. I thought it'd be much closer than that odds-wise. But I like them by around, I think, 9 points.
Well, I've been outvoted, so the boys are going for the Blues, and I've backed the Highlanders. Up straight after that game, we have the Reds versus the Rebels. And to me, looking at that Rebels squad, Genia at that scrum half is going to be a key man, considering Dobrensky is the fly half for them.
This is probably the hardest game to call of the weekend for me. If you look at the last preseason game that the Rebels had, they got absolutely flogged. But halfway through that game, they were only down one try. And Genia is the only change to their starting lineup. So he comes in inside Debrasini. They do have plenty of international experience in that side. They've got a handful of guys that have come across from the Force that'll add something. And I'm not convinced by the Reds team. So I think the Rebels have a real shot at picking up a win in this one.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't think that Brad Thorne's going to really have the impact as coach people think he will. Pretty young Reds team over there as well. But when you have Genia in your side for the Rebels, I mean, I think he's one of the best halfbacks in the game. And his experience, if nothing else, but his ability to break gaps. And, I'm going to go Rebels, and I think it'll be by about 10, 12.
Oh, getting in there early with the score. The Rebels have got a decent back line. Genia, Dobrensky, perhaps, but when Reece Hodge is at 12 because he can't get out get on the wings, that's a decent. That's a good sign. Tom English has been going well. Naivalu and Maddox on the wings, then Dame Hell at Petty at the fullback. They've got a decent back line there, and with Adam Coleman in the front and the forwards, they're going to have a bit of punch about them as well. The thing about the Reds is. It's just looking at that the lack of experience, as you say. They've got some young guys coming through, but having John O'Lance in there, I think, has been a good capture for them. Obviously, there's no Quade Cooper. He's been dropped. And with Nabuli and outside Karevi, there's definitely going to be a chance for them to do some damage as well, surely.
Yeah, they do have some game breakers, and they've actually lost one to injury in their preseason with Isaiah Parisi. So yeah, I think that's a bit of a loss for them. I think Lance comes into the side as a bit of a steadying hand for them. If he can release the likes of Nabuli and Karevi and Aiden Toa, then sure, by all means they could, have a bit of X factor, a bit of something about them, a bit of spark. But the pack on paper, Higginbotham aside, and I guess James Slipper, they look pretty short on experience.
Well, weren't Rhoda and Tui both called up into the Wallabies last season? So they've got and then you've got Kane Douglas coming off the bench.
There's quality there, no doubt. It's just experience for me. I think if you're trying to get a bit of a mix of youth and experience, and I probably think they've got the mix a little bit wrong.
Well, I agree as well. I think that they're a 2-year project rather than this season, and I'm backing the Rebels by 5. Mike's already gone by the Rebels as well. So Ryan, what's your take on this?
I also have the Rebels by 5 or 6.
That's a guy, and I think here that Joshua asks, strange decision to drop Quade. Surely, as a coach, you back yourself to bring the best out of him. The problem is the Reds have got a few problems, and they've obviously just had Carmichael Hunt in court over drugs. And I think whilst he got off the stronger one, he did still get caught with Xanax, I think it was, on his possession. But then on the other side of it, the Rebels are 2 squads coming together, and have they meshed well, or do we have 2 camps that are fighting internally there? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, we're all going with the Rebels on that one. Then heading into the actually it's the afternoon game tomorrow, isn't it? Sunwolves versus the Brumbies. No Leach. I'm a bit surprised by that.
Yeah, big surprise. Yeah, huge. I mean, anyone know why he's not playing?
I don't know, but he's not on the bench either, so I'm assuming it's got to be down to injury.
A big blow for the team, but again, scratching my head about their place in this competition. But Brumbies, again, we're going to call it Brumbies by 50, mate. Seriously,
it's an interesting side to look at for the Sunwolves, because there seems to be no continuity from season to season. There was none from season 1 to season 2. There doesn't look to be any from season 2 to season 3. I think in their starting lineup, they only have 5 that played last year. Some interesting names in the side, guys like Robbie Robinson, Jason Emery, Lapis Lapuskakni. But what is their process here? Are they trying to develop something? Are they trying to build towards something? Or are they just making it up on the fly from season to season?
Yeah, I don't feel so embarrassed now not recognising so many of the names when you say that that much turnover. And the other player that surprised me was Tanaka on the bench. He'll come off the bench and give them a good some good influence towards the end. Moving on to the Brumbies, then Leofano back from leukemia, but no Pocock in this side because he's still injured. To me, this looks just like an all-round solid side. Ben Alexander, Alatoa along with Arnold and Carter, they've got a decent front 5. Perhaps not the back row you'd expect, but then with Leofano, Goodwin, Kurandrani, Spate Banks outside them, this is just from 1 to 15, just a solid team.
I think the Brumbies are going to be, again, probably the better of the Aussie teams this year. Waratahs need to improve, obviously, but yeah, I'm really interested to see how Leofano goes. I mean, we all know what he's been through, but man, what a success story it would be if he can get back to what he was prior to that. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing him go.
I think the loose trio too could be a little bit of a breakout candidate for this Brumbies side. Naisarani is a great pickup. I thought he was impressive with the Force last year. Valentini had a really good NRC with the Canberra Vikings. So I think those two, when Pocock comes back, that makes quite a formidable trio. Maybe a little bit underrated going into this season, but probably a trio to watch.
Yeah, and apparently Nazarite, sorry about that, was definitely the one player that all the squads were trying to get, and it was a bit of a coup for the Brumbies to get him. He was the number one choice that every team wanted. So yeah, 1-15. This is a solid team. Mike's gone Brumbies by 50. I'm going to back them by 15, 1-5, not 5-0. Ryan, how big's that margin going to be?
I think I've picked them by 23. So
you're in the middle.
Yeah.
Then heading into the evening, Crusaders versus the Chiefs. Now, Mike and I will be live straight after this game, giving a post-game reaction. So, Mike, what do you think of the being a Chief? What do you think of the Chiefs lineup?
Yeah, the best available. Bit surprised that Sean Stevenson is in there because he's done a calf, and they said to us on Monday he wasn't playing, so obviously that's healed up. I'm just amazed at the number of All Blacks within both teams. I think I've probably done my math wrong, so maybe Ryan can correct me, but 21 All Blacks across both starting 15s. Yeah, I'm just excited, but I don't know. This is a tough one to call, Paul. Probably missed the trick having Aiden Ross start at prop, but Kane Haynes being injured, not available, so best team available. But
what about Charlie Nartai captaining from 15? That seems a bit strange to me.
Yeah, that was a huge shock. You would think that they would play Stevenson at fullback. He's played there before. I have no idea. I wasn't at the interview today, so no idea what the thinking is behind that. My only guess would be, is that something to do with concussion? But hey, he's going to take a tackle during the match. I mean,
absolutely, he's going to have to get up on the high ball and could very easily come down the wrong way. So putting him at fullback is not going to. Whilst it might reduce the number of knocks, it's not going to get rid of all of them. So I'm a bit surprised to see him there, and I thought I expect him to come up into the line quite a bit.
Yeah.
Apart from that, as you say, pretty much as expected, with a solid starting pack, but no lock cover off the bench.
No. Yeah, that doesn't really matter too much because Taleni Siu's at number 8, so he can always shift into lock if need be. And I think that's probably what the plan will be. Bird maybe comes off around the hour mark. Messam to 8, and then Siu shifts into lock and plays 80 minutes.
We'll be looking out for that move now. That's Mike's had a go at the Chiefs. Ryan, why don't you have a go at the Crusaders?
Look, I mean, you've got a side without Owen Franks, without Joe Moody, without Kieran Reid, and it's still chock full of quality players. I just think, on paper, I think this looks like a comfortable win to the Crusaders. I think you judge it by the guys they leave out. I mean, a guy like Braden Ennor, who was excellent pre-season, excellent Mitre 10 Cup, can't get in the team because it's Tamani Valu and Bridge, can't even find a spot on the bench. Scott Barrett comes off the bench, so you 3 All Black locks. The Drummond, Bryn Hall debate, is week to week. They're just going to share that duty, 2 quality halfbacks. If the Chiefs have had any chance in this, they've got to win the battle up front because I think their back line looks thin. They've lost a lot of quality with Kurbalo gone, with Cruden gone, with James Lowe gone. Nartai at fullback's a bit of an unknown. If they can get parity up front, they're a chance, but otherwise I think the Crusaders are going to win this comfortably.
I do think we're going to have a change of style from the Chiefs because it was so low and Mackenzie driven, the two of them breaking together. So I think we're going to have, they won't be quite as be a bit more structured perhaps, and with that not be quite so dynamic. But I still think they've got quality in their backs. As you say, when you look at this, they're missing the 2 first choice All Blacks props in the Crusaders, and they've still got an All Blacks front row. In fact, an All Blacks front 5 with Matt Todd there. Bringing Scott Barrett off the bench is just crazy. Mitchell Hunt also is. Remember, he did a drop goal, but was that in this fixture last year, or was it against another team? I can't remember.
It was Highlanders.
This is Highlanders. Sorry. So We know he can pull a trick out of his bag. With Crotty and Goodhue in there, yeah, it's just quality throughout the side. Again, I think that that we're going to see the Crusaders. I agree with you that I'm backing the Crusaders by 5. I think this will be a close one. I do think that the Chiefs have got the forward pack to match them. Mike, are you going to go with your head or your heart on this one?
Oh, it's just a couple more things. I think, Marty McKenzie on the bench, he can slot into 15. Damien can and might actually go back. A lot of people don't know, but Sean Stevenson has trained at 10 this preseason, and he has played at 10 as well. So I don't know, if the worst happens, there might be some changes, but the back line to me is quite weak in comparison to the Crusaders. If the Chiefs, like Ryan says, if they can win the battle up front, it'll go a long way to winning the game. They're going to have to kick their goals. But no, I'm going to go to the Crusaders by 5.
So we've all gone Crusaders. That is a really interesting one, that what we might see is Stevenson stepping into first receiver to give Marty McKenzie some time in some of those plays. You might see the players sort of switching around, because we've already said that Ngatai would normally be at 12, not out the back. So we could see a very fluid back line from the Chiefs then.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see Stevenson go back to 15 very early in the match.
Yeah, I wonder too if Ngatai's a good distributor, so he possibly slots in at first or second receiver during the game. Yeah. You've got another wing there, Analo Malo, who's played a lot of fullback. So I think you guys are right in that it could be quite fluid on the night.
And Elio Malo is fast as well. I mean, he's probably one of the quicker ones in the back line, apart from Damien. So, yeah, if they can get him some space with the ball, those big legs, he'll make a difference.
Cool. So we've all gone Crusaders. Moving on then, because we're nearly on time. This is amazing. Waratahs versus Stormers. So a Waratahs team that has Hooper, Foley, Beale, Folau has definitely got quality through it, but a few other names in there that perhaps that aren't such household names. I mean, they've got 4 players who haven't played for the Tars before in Super Rugby in their starting 15, and a further 5 off the bench. A bit of a callow team.
Yeah, I think like the Waratahs press report sort of said, there's 4 starters that haven't played for the Waratahs, but 3 of them are guys that have come from other teams, and you guys like Rob Simmons and Tom Staniforth. So they've played plenty of rugby with the Reds and the Brumbies. Lalakai Fakiti's the interesting one for me. So he's played 2 games of Super Rugby in 2014 for the Rebels. But New Zealand fans will probably know him from playing Mitre 10 Cup for Bay of Plenty the last couple of years, and being a guy with a bit of X factor and someone who can break a game open. So him slotting in at 13, with those other guys around him, the likes of Foley and Beale and Folau, he could be one to watch. So I think this team on paper is probably is not too bad. And there are some guys that maybe become a little bit more well-known to casual fans.
Yeah, definitely. I think my gut feeling is that the Waratahs might do a wee bit better than what we think this year. Purely on the basis is last year they couldn't really do a whole lot worse, and players like Beale and Foley in particular have a lot of pride in that jersey. And just at home, I think they'll get up, but Stormers will be typical of South African rugby. They'll try and push their way over the line from a line out. So, really interesting. If their 4-pack can't hold up, then they might leak a lot of tries, but I think their backline kind of is able to break as well. So,
yeah, they've got Steph Totoy back in the forwards, and still missing Etzebeth, unfortunately. And I was actually impressed by William Is last weekend, and I'm probably butchering his name now, the young guy at 10. I think they could actually cause some damage. They've got Delende in the back there, and they've got some as well. So they've got some experienced backs around him. And I think they could cause some problems, but generally the South African sides just don't travel well, do they? Let's be honest.
Yeah, and they were scratchy last week. I think they'll be better for the hit out, and it's going to be interesting to see these teams that have already had a run to see how they go week 2 against teams that haven't. So, you know, whether that means that the Stormers start a little bit better than the Waratahs could be a big factor in this game. You're right, they get Peter Steph the toy back. That's a big addition in the second row, and they also get SP Maria back at fullback, which means that Sinatla gets a rest. Yeah, and a big battle. I think where this game's going to be won or lost is when you look at young halves pairing in Duvanaka and Willemse up against a guy with a lot of experience in Bernard Foley and another guy who's got a lot of promise in Jake Gordon. So, yeah, this is an intriguing battle. But you're right, the South African teams have to prove they can win on the road.
Yeah, and I'm going about the Waratahs by 5 because basically I just don't think the South African teams can win on the road, even if they are better, or so they have had more a game extra to get themselves up to speed. And also Foley, when he's coming off an off season where he hasn't gone to Japan or anything, that'll also help the Tars as well. So I'm going Waratahs by 5. Mike, how many for the Waratahs?
I think I said by about 10. I haven't made my Super Bowl picks yet, but I'll go the Waratahs by about 15. My gut feeling says.
And Ryan's just headed off to put the lights on so we can actually see him. For those of you on the podcast, well, yeah, Ryan just disappeared to put the lights on because he was going a bit dark. So, Ryan, how many points do you think Waratahs are going to win by, or are you going to go with the Stormers?
I think the Waratahs by 10.
Okay, so we've all gone by the Waratahs. I'm 5, 10, and then 15 for Mike, I think it was. Then we head over to South Africa, the Lions versus the Jaguares. No team news out for this one yet because that'll come out about midnight our time, so in about another 3 or 4 hours. But the Lions got the win last weekend. The Jaguares got the loss. Is there anything more to say than just this is a home win written all over it?
Yep. That's it.
I wasn't sure if he said that was yes for a home win or yes, there's more to say. I don't think there's too much more to say. I think the Lions will just run them off the park. They looked like they hadn't missed a beat last week against a pretty good Shark side. So, yeah, I think the Jaguares are in for a challenge.
Yeah, add in the altitude, the temperature, and I think the Jaguares are going to get, you say, if they can stay in touch for the first half or the first 60 minutes, that'll be good. And hopefully they can improve their discipline. I've got Lions by 15. I think, as I say, a comfortable home victory. Mike, what's your margin?
Yeah, about 28.
28. And Brian?
I went to the Lions by 17.
Okay, so we're all gone fairly big victories by that. Interesting question from Josh on the live chat. If New South Wales, or basically Waratahs, lose a few games early, does Gibson make it to the halfway point or get fired?
Wouldn't surprise me knowing Australia, but who else would step into that void? You know, like if Gibson goes, who's the coach?
Well, true. I can't see there's any. Well, they could bring Laurie Fisher up from the Brumbies, have another go at doing head coach. It's a good question. I don't know who would step in, but yeah, he doesn't appear to be not quite as much of a dead man walking as we saw, perhaps with at the Reds the last couple of years. But it does feel like he's not going to survive very long, and probably if he makes it to the end of the season, I think they'll probably change then. And I think that's probably a better move than actually try and change again mid-season, is my view. But I wouldn't be surprised yet if he does go before the end of the season.
Well, I think on paper they're probably the second strongest side in the Australian conference. So there's pressure on. Anything less than a final spot for them is a failure, and I think he does have a bit of pressure on his shoulders, but I can't see a change coming mid-season.
Well, we said that about the Reds for the past 2 seasons and about the Well, actually, no, the Reds did change at the end of the season, didn't they, last time? But and the Force also had a mid-season change 2 seasons ago. But with Hooper, Foley, Beale, Flower, he's got all of the X Factor boys, all the big stars really from the Wallabies. Personally, I think he's. I'd suggest that the Waratahs are as strong, if not stronger, than the Brumbies, but they've just have performed to be less than their parts, some of their parts. Anyway, moving on to the last game of the round, the Vodacom Bulls versus the Hurricanes. No team news for the Bulls. So, but if we look at the Hurricanes side, Beauden Barrett starting on the bench.
Yeah, well, they announced that. So he'd been back in New Zealand for a wedding, or a couple of weddings. I think one of his brothers that wasn't Geordie or Scott, and his best mate got married. So he joined the squad late, and they announced that he was going to start off the bench no matter what. So I guess that meant that the big question was who was going to start at 10. They've gone with Ihia West, which is a big call ahead of Jackson Garden Bishop. But for all accounts, West had a pretty good pre-season. So obviously he's won that battle.
Yeah, it'll be a tough one for the Hurricanes. But yeah, like you said about Barrett, I think he could probably sit out the first 3 weeks of the comp, and you just know what you're getting when he came back into the side. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I think it might be a bit closer than what people think. I've sort of lost faith in Ihia West. I think he's a great Mitre 10 player. I just don't really think he's Super Rugby. He's had enough chances. So it would have been nice for them to throw Garden Bishop into the fire, and what better way to do it against the Bulls in South Africa. So I think the Hurricanes will get up by about 7, but they're not going to play all that well, I don't think.
He does appear to be, to me, the weak link in the back. So you've got TJ Paranara, West, Lamapi, Asso, the 2 top try scorers from last season. Goosen out on the left wing, Julian Surveyor on the right, and Matt Proctor at fullback. So lots of quality there. And Julian Surveyor moving over to the right wing. Is this because he can't see himself getting past Rico Ioane in an All Blacks jersey?
Well, who knows? They can't see him getting past by sucking the hole either. So maybe a shift to fullback. No, there's Ben Smith there. Maybe a shift to England.
Steve Hansen's already got his ideal All Black side. He's decided Xavier isn't in it. Let's move on.
I thought it was very intriguing to see him on the right wing. Obviously, I think he'd be raring to go. And I think having him trying to fight for an All Blacks jersey, even though we all believe he's not going to get it, is fantastic for the Hurricanes. I think he'll be hungry coming into this. We've got some great some player in Fafita, obviously his breakout last year. We saw him doing well at the All Blacks back in as a lock rather than at 6. Where they have Brad Shields there, Artie Severe as well. And that's a good, decent pack as well. I can't see the Bulls, personally, having much chance against them. More so because John Mitchell has come out and already said that he is backing a youth team. But until we actually see the team that he actually names, they are a bit of an unknown quantity. Even so, only because of an unknown quantity, I've gone Hurricanes by 7, and I think they will win. Mike, you've already given us your numbers. So, Ryan, how do you see the Hurricanes going?
Yeah, I also went the Hurricanes by 7. Probably one thing that's been a little bit sort of unnoticed with the Hurricanes side is that they haven't taken Safo Moore. So he was one of the breakout stars of last season's Mitre 10 Cup and went on the All Blacks tour. But by all accounts, a little bit unconditioned, shall we say, after a few too many Christmas pies. So that's a big, I think, a big loss for them. You know, with Coles out, he would have been expected to kind of step up. So a bit of pressure there on Riccatelli and James O'Reilly at hooker. But I still think that it's a quality side for the Hurricanes.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, basically, it appears he needs to learn what it means to be a professional rugby player. And he hasn't really, and he's gone a bit off the rails during the off-season and put a little bit too much weight on. I think Riccatelli would have started ahead of him anyway, and he'd have been on the bench. But even so, you're right, yeah, there's a lost to their depth in there. And but yeah, someone needs to take him under their wing and explain to him what being a professional rugby player is all about, because you can't be turning up having put on too much weight in the off season. And if we look at someone like the way that Ben Smith has come back from his 6-month sabbatical, that's how you come back fit, and that's how you look after yourself when you're not playing. And he's just, clearly not done that, unfortunately. So any final thoughts heading into this round? It's to me, it's the real start, and I'm excited for especially the Friday night and Saturday night games, where I'll be doing live post-match reactions to. So that's the Highlanders versus the Blues and the Crusaders versus the Chiefs. Any final thoughts from you boys?
I think, like you said, it's great that we get these New Zealand derbies started. History tells us they're generally the best games, so it's going to be really interesting to see, especially for a team like the Blues, who their downfalls in the past few seasons have been how they've gone against other New Zealand sides. So they really need to lay down a marker. And I think that the Crusaders Chiefs one's going to be a real big sort of indicator for how the season goes as well, because the Crusaders are a team that everyone expects to be right up there in contention. For me, the Chiefs are a team that I can see dropping in the New Zealand Conference, so they need to come out and start well and lay down a marker as well. So both those games are set up really nicely.
Yeah, I think Super Rugby as a comp needs to have a really good season, because outside the New Zealand derbies, there's a bit of question marks about people's interest in this, really. So I think the Crusaders, that traditionally they do lose that first game, but I don't think history is going to repeat itself this weekend. The key for the Chiefs is going to be how they deal with pressure, and I don't know. I don't know if they can do it really this year. It wouldn't surprise me if they ended up, at the bottom of the New Zealand Conference, actually. But no, it's just good to have rugby back. I hope we have a good season without too much controversy. There's obviously going to be a lot of talk about All Black players going into camp and all this nonsense, but hopefully the quality on the field is good. And for me, the impetus is really on South Africa and Australia. To really put out some good rugby in this comp. So, can't wait.
Cool. I was going to refer to one. Josh has gone. Julian Severe sitting there sheepishly. Bit of double standard there. No, from what I understand, Julian Severe has come back from the off season, hungry and very well conditioned. So I don't think we're going to see the same Julian Severe we've seen in previous seasons, where he takes the first half of Super Rugby to lose the weight he's put on over the off season. I think we're going to see him hitting the ground, running and performing well. So yes, in past seasons, but I think he's had a bit of rocket up his backside by losing that All Blacks jersey, and so I think we'll be fine. I think he'll be absolutely fine there. So thank you everybody. Looking forward to it this weekend. As I say, I'll be doing post-match reactions. Boys, where can the people chat with you during the games and over the weekend? Mike, do you want to go first?
Yeah, you can find me trying to improve my overseas rugby knowledge. So you can find that on Twitter. I'll be posting my ramblings every weekend and totally non-biased opinions, and I'll leave it to you professionals to do the proper job. Real Mike Pullman, Twitter.
Oh dear. Well, I'm not sure about professionals, but actually we do have one professional in the room. Ryan, tell us what wonderful experiences people can get on the Tribe Sports app over the weekend.
Yeah, so make sure you get the Tribe Sports app. If you go into the App Store or the Play Store, you can find it there. We'll have live text commentary of all the Super Rugby games and all the Six Nations this week, as well as live scoring of all the European leagues. And if you want to chat with me, follow me on Twitter at New York Nixon, and you'll see plenty of rugby chat, but plenty of other stuff as well.
You certainly will. In fact, you'll see plenty of cricket chat from both of these boys. Not from me though. My account will be pure rugby through and through. So at DrivingMaul on Twitter, obviously, and I'm doing live post-game reviews of the Highlanders versus the Blues and the Crusaders versus the Chiefs, as well as France, Italy, and Scotland, England in the Six Nations as well. I have a busy weekend ahead of me. Mike will be joining me as the Chiefs fan for the Crusaders Chiefs. So thank you, everybody. Do subscribe to the channel. Don't forget, my face is there if you're watching the recording on YouTube. You can subscribe to that, and up there is a spot for the latest video. If you're on the podcast, please do subscribe for your favorite podcasting app, and obviously 5-star reviews are much appreciated. Enjoy whatever rugby you're watching this weekend, folks.